to the Motherboard Channel 4 local news. This is Mark Target here with the incumbent mayor of Motherboard, Kamiya Kayo. Good to have you here, Mr. Kayo.
Thank you for having me, Mark. You've always been a gracious host.
I have a list of questions for you pulled from the people of Motherboard, and we would like to hear your thoughts and answers.
Ask away.
Let's start with the most pressing issue, crime rates on Motherboard Island. Over the past year, we've seen a dramatic spike in violent crimes, gang activity, and supervillain terrorism, especially in regards to the vigilante known as Night Terror, who was previously thought dead. What is your administration doing to combat this growing threat?
That's a great question, Mark, and a topic that's on everyone's mind. First, let me say that the safety of our citizens is my administration's top priority. Over the past year, we've allocated additional funding to the Motherboard Police Department and are working closely with the JCH to address both supervillain terrorism and vigilante activity. Regarding Night Terror, his actions are a concern, not just for my administration, but for the people of Motherboard Island. While some may see him as a symbol of justice, his methods are reckless, violent, and undermine the rule of law. The people of Motherboard believe that everyone is entitled to a second chance, and by killing the people he deems irredeemable, he is denying them that right. We've worked with the JCH to establish a specialized task force to track him down and ensure that he is brought to justice. At the same time, we recognize that addressing crime isn't just about policing. We are increasing investment in multiple community programs.
Sounds like a great plan, Mr. Kayo. What are your thoughts on your opponent, Bando Takako?
Her heart is in the right place. Don't get me wrong, but the populist mentality she has is not what's needed for this city. What Motherboard needs is strong, decisive leadership and a pragmatic approach to solving our issues. Mr. Kako has made some appealing promises, but they lack the practical grounding to address the real challenges our city is facing. While I respect her passion for community outreach, her ideals appeal to the wrong kind of people. People who are metaphobic, hateful, and revel in Azovian ideology. Electing her would be enabling those people.
That's quite the claim, Mr. Kayo. Are you saying that Bando Takako is directly aligned with metaphobic and extremist groups?
I wouldn't go as far as to say she's aligned with them, but she certainly attracts their support. Many of her policies have gained a lot of traction with very extreme anti-government and anti-metahuman groups. And I feel that letting her become mayor would in turn embolden those groups to take action to hurt this community.
I see. And what do you have to say about the rumors that you've been taking bribes from Fenrir?
Now, Mark, I expected tough questions, but that one's more of a conspiracy theory than a real concern. Let me be absolutely clear. My administration has never and will never take bribes from any corporation, including Fenrir Corp. That being said, Fenrir Corp is one of the largest economic forces on Motherboard Island. Their presence here provides jobs, infrastructure, and technological advancements that benefit our community. While I acknowledge the concerns some have about corporate influence in politics, I assure you that my administration operates with full transparency. Any financial contribution or business dealings with Fenrir Corp or any other company are legally documented and follow strict ethical guidelines. These accusations are nothing more than smear tactics pushed by my opponents and, quite frankly, the kind of sensationalism that distracts from the real issues. If there was any actual evidence of wrongdoing, I invite the press and our citizens to scrutinize it. Otherwise, I think it's time we focus on facts, not fiction.
Understood, Mr. Kayo. However, some critics argue that your administration's close relationship with Fenrir Corp prevents you from properly addressing corporate crime, particularly allegations that Fenrir Corp engages in human rights violations and illicit experiments on metahumans. How do you respond to those concerns?
I take all allegations of human rights abuses very seriously. If there is verifiable evidence of misconduct by Fenrir Corp or any corporation operating in Motherboard Island, my administration will take appropriate action. However, I will not govern based on rumors and fear-mongering. We must be careful not to villainize the very businesses that drive our city's economy based on unsubstantiated claims. That said, my administration supports regulatory oversight to ensure that all corporations, including Fenrir Corp, adhere to the law. If any individual or organization has credible proof of illegal activities, I encourage them to bring it forward through the proper legal channels.
Some would argue that it's difficult for evidence to come forward when those who try to expose Fenrir Corp often end up missing or dead. Your response?
Mark, with all due respect, that sounds like a plot from a conspiracy thriller. I won't entertain baseless speculation. The safety of whistleblowers and journalists is important, which is why we support protections for those who expose corruption. Real corruption, not unverified allegations meant to steer paranoia.
Moving on, one of the key issues raised by your opponent, Bando Takako, is the increasing cost of living on Motherboard Island. Rent has skyrocketed, and many citizens feel like they're being pushed out due to gentrification and corporate expansion. What is your plan to address this?
That's a fair question, and one I take very seriously. The cost of living is a challenge, but it's also a sign of our city's growth and success. As Motherboard Island continues to develop, we must strike a balance between progress and affordability. To combat rising costs, my administration is working on several initiatives. This is a complex issue, and while Ms. Takako has criticized my approach, she has yet to provide a viable alternative. Sound policy requires more than just a criticism. It requires action.
It seems you have a clear stance on your policies. Finally, what would you say to the people of Motherboard as we approach Election Day?
I would say this. Motherboard Island is at a crossroads. We can choose a future that is secure, prosperous, and forward-thinking, or we can fall into the hands of fear and reactionary politics. My administration is committed to making this city safer, stronger, and more inclusive for everyone, metahuman and non-metahuman alike. I urge the people of Motherboard Island to vote for experience, stability, and real solutions. Let's keep moving forward together.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for your time, Mr. Kayo.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
This concludes our interview with incumbent Mayor Kamiya Kayo. Stay tuned for more coverage as we approach Election Day. This is Mark Target signing off.